Welcome to Dad Hammer Bolters and Booze, where we discuss all things Warhammer while staying hydrated with an adult beverage. I am David the Warboss, and I'm joined by the Dad Hammer crew, the team, the amigos, the triple threat. I don't know. Is there any threat? I don't feel threatened.
By us?
Maybe to your snacks.
That's true.
We're a threat to the pantry.
There's not much of a threat. We'll just say that. Yeah. Well, I am joined by Medicae Steve and Chief Librarian Lawson. Guys, how's it going?
It's going good, man. Speaking of feeling old, just kidding. Just bringing in the preamble, the pre-show talk. So you want to hear a funny story? So I went on a fishing trip with a bunch of buddies that I hadn't seen in a while this past weekend, and just fly fishing down the Hiwassee in eastern Tennessee. So we're just going along, and my buddy drops his phone in the water. I'm like, dude, really? I'm like, how'd you drop your phone in the river? And we're like, I don't know. So we spent like 10 minutes trying to scoop the phone out of the water. 15 minutes later, guess who falls out of the boat?
Oh,
me.
Hey, how are you going to drop yourself in the river?
Well, right? I was like, well, you dropped your phone. I'm going to drop me. So yeah, that's kind of how my my last week or so went. Mm-hmm. Fell in a river. Mm-hmm. It was cold. It was really cold.
I bet. Did you put yourself in a bag of rice? Isn't that what you're supposed to do?
Yeah, I thought about it. Yeah. I wish I had a bag of rice.
Dry yourself out.
Yeah.
Well, good.
Sorry.
Good.
That was a diversion.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't mind.
Thought I would share.
Yeah. Any story that is shared about some kind of humiliating event is always welcome on this show. Yeah.
Lawson, so you know what you don't fall in the river doing? Playing Warhammer.
Oh, what a segue. What a fantastic. If you're doing it right.
It also depends on the mission. Sometimes you have rivers on your board. You never know.
No, not in 40K. In 40K, it's like, look, it's a river mission, and the only difference is you get 40 extra victory points for standing next to the river. Like, come on, guys, really? Yeah. That's just kind of lazy.
That's true.
Yeah. Well, good deal. We have a great show, and as we've already messed up the segue that Steve eloquently tried to create for us. But we do have a great show. We got some good stuff to talk about. We have an upcoming Warhammer Online Preview. And if you are unaware, that's just another event that the Warhammer site will have where they show off all the new stuff coming up soon, whether it's in the next couple of weeks or really it could be anytime in the future. But they show off new models, and we'll go over some predictions and what we think is going to come out. And there's been a lot of spoilers and potential leaks on the internet, as it's the internet, so it's always going to happen. But we'll talk about some of that stuff, and then we're going to have a segment. It is Thanksgiving time, coming up on Thanksgiving, and I thought it would be cool if we just spend a few minutes talking about what we're thankful for, specific to Warhammer. So don't groan. It's like, oh no, we're going to be talking about how thankful we are for our I don't know, our garden outside. No, we're not going to do that unless there's Warhammer stuff in the garden, and then that would be okay. But we're going to talk about what we are thankful for this previous year, stuff that happened over the year that we really enjoyed in the Warhammer side, and also just what it meant, I think, to the community and kind of where we sit on all of that, and maybe some things that are going to happen in the future as well. Thank you so much for listening to our show. If you like what you're hearing, make sure to rate, follow, subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And you can find us on our website, dadhammerpodcast.com, and all over social media. But first, we're going to start with the most important part of every Dad Hammer podcast, and that is, what are we drinking? Steve, I'm gonna let you go first, because
sure.
I don't know what you're drinking tonight, but I'm just going to assume that it's kind of lame. I have this I had this feeling. I had this feeling that it's just going to be lame, and maybe that's because I'm drinking something super lazy and lame. But You know, maybe you're not going to disappoint. I don't know.
It's river water.
Nice.
still wringing it out from your shorts.
still finding it in my socks. You know.
Yeah.
No, I'm just drinking a whiskey sour.
See,
Nothing
super
special.
super
just,
lame.
yeah. 2 ingredients. Well, 3 if you count ice.
Wait a minute.
4 if you count love. You know,
is ice an ingredient? I mean,
it's accessory.
yeah. Well, it's kind of like because it's not required. I mean, but
True,
but
it's not.
neither is the glass, right? You could just drink it straight from the bottle.
Just mix them together.
I don't know about that. All right. Well, whiskey sour. What kind of whiskey?
Yeah. Actually, just Jack Daniels.
Okay.
The mix I found when we were down on the coast. It's called Bitter Milk is the name of the company. I don't know. There's probably 1,000 of them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a good whiskey sour. I like it.
Excellent.
It's got a little bitterness to it.
Yeah.
So that's nice.
Yeah. Just like us, right? A little bitter.
Yeah, just a little old and bitter.
Yeah. Well, excellent. I am having... mine isn't much better. I think it's a little worse. Mine just has one ingredient. See, here's a defense mechanism. I just have some pumpkin spice rum chata. That's it.
Oh, nice.
That's all it is.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean pumpkin, right? Thanksgiving time, and I love pumpkin. I love me some pumpkin spice everything. So you either love it or you hate it, and I happen to love it. So take that.
Sounds good.
Take that, internet majority.
Take it. Take it and like it.
Yeah. All right, Lawson, you got the mocktail this evening.
So don't worry,
what you got for us?
I'll recover it. This is my moment, since you guys are lame and boring with your drinks. I am drinking a Strawberry Fields Forterra. Forterra is one word. It's a play on words of forever, the Strawberry Fields Forever by the Beatles. So it is a strawberry mule mocktail mixture with a lemonade, American ice sparkling water. So it's a nice fruity lemonade. It's like a strawberry lemonade. It's the best way to explain it. It's essentially what I made. So yeah,
nice.
It's pretty good. I'm pleasantly surprised. The more I do these mocktails, the more I'm just kind of like, these things are great. So
no pumpkin mocktail.
I didn't have anything that was exclusively pumpkin spice, unless okay. I have 2 half-gallon containers of pumpkin spice coffee creamer in the fridge. I can just drink that from the container if you prefer.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like my rum chata.
Exactly.
I mean, really, that's all it is. Yeah. So just take
No, it's not. It's nothing.
Yeah,
like
it's the mocktail version
at all.
just take a can of like pumpkin, right? And like you would put in your pumpkin pie filling, and just put that in there and dump some creamer, mix it up. I'm sure it'll taste good.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
what could go wrong?
A little nutmeg, on top. That's very.
Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah, and then we'd find you like collapsed in a ditch somewhere. What happened to him? We're not sure.
Oh no.
Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad you have your mocktail. I do like the name. Very, very good play on
very
words.
much.
Yeah. Well, you guys enjoy your various drinks. I will enjoy my super lame-o single ingredient drink if you don't count ice. Cheers and bottoms up, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, let's talk about the upcoming Warhammer Online Preview. The only thing we've gotten so far officially, and I'm gonna do this in air quotes, but the only official thing we've gotten is a little teaser for something related to we think either Flesh Eater Courts or some kind of death related Age of Sigmar thing. When they did a little preview teaser. And it had they showed like a table with a bunch of Thanksgiving type food and cornucopia stuff, and then they would phase it in and out and show bones instead, and it looked all creepy. And so that's the only official thing. Looked pretty exciting. I don't know what we're gonna get if they do something that big. If they dedicate something single to a potential release or an upcoming event, usually it's going to be a pretty big deal. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think it's going to be single model? Are we talking a larger release line, or maybe a couple of units, or a bigger deal, or what do you think? I think it's just hyping up a single model.
Nah, it's my suggestion. What I think it's going to be, I think what they're going to do is release the Mortarch. So you know how each of the sub-factions of Death have different Mortarchs for different things. I think they're going to release the Mortarch for the Flesh Eater Courts, because that's all they lack realistically as far as Mortarchs are concerned, and I think it's going to be a range refresh for the Flesh Eater Courts, because some of those models aren't pretty ancient. I have a few, and they suck. They're pretty bad. Putting them together is atrocious. So I think that they're going to refresh, revamp, add a few new models, and then probably the Mortarch for something that big. If they're investing a teaser trailer for it, it's not going to be one or two models. They typically don't, like, why put in that much work for two models? You know what I mean? It's got to be bigger than that.
But they could just come out with some kind of, I mean, it would maybe a single character, right? And they've done that before. I want to say they did that with like the Avatar of Cain.
True.
You know, but they've also done big releases or teasers like that for, remember when the Votann were teased, and then of course that was a whole army. I don't think that's what they're doing here. I guess it's possible they come out with a brand new army, but I doubt it. Yeah, I agree. I would see most likely would see some type of Flesh Eater Court release limited, because they just had Warhammer Day with a ton of releases there. They've got the Codex stuff coming out for 40K. Age of Sigmar, I still think, is in a good place. They have continued to release amazing looking Age of Sigmar models. So, I mean, anytime nowadays, I don't know about you guys, anytime they come out with some kind of Age of Sigmar thing, I'm always excited, because you never know what you're going to get, and you know it's going to be amazing looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And they do a good job with it, because it's pretty grand usually.
Yeah,
big stuff.
Yeah,
neat.
It'd be cool to see some giant Flesh Eater Court related model. But you know, who knows? So that'll be cool. I think that I like the teaser. I like when they do that, so that you have no idea what's coming out. So it gives you a little bit of a surprise when it actually happens. I just overall with the event, personally, I doubt we're going to see anything drastic or major, but no gigantic army release or reveal. I think it's just going to be small stuff, personally. But I've been wrong before on these things, and you never know what they're actually going to come out with. But what do you guys think? You think we're going to see? Is this going to be a slow drip, a few releases? Anything they really get excited about?
I think you're definitely going to see Necron HQ. They teased 3. They've done 2. I don't know which one it could be. You know, I've read and heard it might be Orican, the Diviner, which I think is it's like a Chronomancer sort of unit. I feel like the Necrons I can't imagine them making a big range refresh or anything, because that just sort of just happened.
Yeah.
And I don't really know what else they could add necessarily.
I don't think they need it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's in a pretty good spot. I've been saying forever that a new edition of Kill Team's coming, so maybe they'll tease that. I just assume that it's in a 3-year cycle. If it's in a 3-year cycle, 2024 is going to be its next refresh. But I don't know if it's in a bad enough spot or a place where it needs a edition upgrade.
What would that look like, though? I mean, what would
I don't know.
A new edition of Kill Team? Because I know you're big into Kill Team, and I have played Kill Team. It was fun, But now that combat patrol's out, now that boarding actions is out, I just don't feel the draw to kill team anymore. So in order to bring me back in, they would really have to. I'm trying to think what would they have to do if they rebooted Kill Team completely to draw someone like me back into yet another game. I want to say they would have to simplify it even more. Like really just dumb it down to a handful of character units or something, and then make it, like 4 or 5 models. What do you guys think?
Because I mean, right now as it stands, if it's anything like Warcry, which I mean, there should be anyways. If it's anything like Warcry, then it's probably pretty complicated. I think I've played Kill Team twice, maybe, and they were both with you. So, and that was a long time ago. So, but you had the multiple activations with the rules on top of rules, and then you could also kind of like intervene, and it was just kind of a lot, which is fine. Like that's okay. But with, like you said, with combat patrol and boarding action being out now, they're easy. Like you pick it up and play it and finish a whole game in 45 minutes and feel, comfortable and confident enough to play another game right after that. With Kill Team, personally, I feel like you play once and you're like, okay, I'm done. I need to break my brain.
Yeah.
So
it's a lot. Yeah,
they would have to simplify it for sure. But I think it would be super cool. And they may do this already. Like I said, I only play like 2 games. Do they have it to where you can, field whatever? So you pick chaos, right? And then you could field pretty much anything and it has its own type of point value, or you've locked in and you can only play specific kill teams.
Yeah, I mean,
the lists are specific.
Yeah, you can pick. I mean, you can pick different lists, but the models themselves will have only certain things that you can take. I think you usually have some options, but I want to say it's fairly locked in. Okay. Steve, I mean, I know you play more Kill Team than I
do. The previous edition had like they called it an Elites edition, like addition, not edition, but sort of like a DLC, right? They came out with rules that you could run smaller, more elite units. Like if you wanted to run a bunch of Terminators or something like that with your Space Marines, But I don't know how that would work right now because, Space Marine team is, I think, 6 models anyway. So I don't know. What would you go down to 3? So I don't know if that would work with its current incarnation, or would it really be worth? It wouldn't draw me back in,
Yeah.
The point of the list building right now is, I think you have like somewhere around 20 options with a list, but you can only take maybe 10 to 12 in some of the bigger sized armies. So you don't have a lot of playroom. It's really just mostly war gear. It's not even, and maybe a few abilities. The troops are pretty much all the same. It's either like all Space Marines or all orcs or all Krieg guys. Infantry type figures.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's pretty set.
I think they would have to. What I would like is if they had almost like a combat patrol version where everything was just preset, almost like a board game variant. Where because the board games are very. You just the point of it is they sell it at Target or something, and you buy the box. It comes with the rules and the models, and this is what you get. You don't get to modify much or take all these different options because that's overwhelming to the audience that's buying a box at a Target, right? They just want something a little more complicated than checkers, right? to get in. Right. And I'm not suggesting that you dumb it down that much, but I really would like something just almost like a palate cleanser, because even combat patrol is nice, boarding actions, but you still have a lot of work to do to get it all set up. And with the reduced number of models, even with the kill team, looking at it's usually less than 10, depending on, even with orcs, right? You're less than 10. I would prefer something even simpler than that and make it more narrative and and story based. And that would draw me a little back in more. Kill Team would be more of an accessory to 40K versus a completely separate game. But then again, I'm not the one making these decisions, so what the heck do I know?
Right.
But if we're asking, right, hey, what would draw you back in? Well, for me, that's what would draw me back in.
Yeah, it needs to be something really different than what it is now.
I agree. For sure. I agree. So what else are we thinking for the preview event? I know there's been some possibility that Chaos Space Marines might see something. I saw a rumor that they would get new bikers, new bikes.
Yeah.
I mean the bikers that I have, which of course I bought off of you, Lawson. They're okay. They're just Chaos Space Marines on bikes. And whenever I look at them, that just reminds me almost like a Stranger Things, kids on bikes riding in a neighborhood. that's what it reminds me of. It's not very intimidating to me. They need to be jumping over something, or even with the orcs when they have their bikers, they look like they're just absolutely bonkers, and in a good way. But Chaos Space Marines just like, hey, let's go hop on this motorcycle here.
Yeah.
It doesn't do much for me. So I would like to see that. But what do you guys think? You think Chaos Space Marines are getting anything?
They could use some stuff, like you said. I think the traitor / not so heretical warbands, some of the other I guess chapters or legions that they didn't go straight up chaos. They just didn't want to be in the Imperium anymore. Like the Night Lords and Iron Warriors and that kind of stuff. They don't really dabble much in the whole warp god thing. They just are just nasty, but I think they're underrepresented. You can't really, they're very, very specific aesthetics in their look and stuff. And there's not a lot out there within GW that you can really customize. So if you wanted a warband of Night Lords or Red Corsairs or whatever, you have to really kit bash some 30K stuff, Horus Heresy stuff, which is a different scale. And I don't know. I'd love to see some, more upsized Chaos Space Marines like some of the newer ones, but with insignia for some of these war bands and stuff. I think that'd be cool. I don't know if that's going to happen though.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna have to get. Whatever comes out, I'm gonna have to buy a box that comes with the transfers, the decal transfers, because I'm out and I'm having to put the chaos symbol transfers, the undivided, the little chaos symbol. I'm trying to put those on all of these Chaos Space Marines that I have, and I've run out, and I've got like 10 more. So, and they don't sell them. They don't sell them on the web store.
Segue. I have a ton of those cards.
Oh, well, what are you doing? I mean, what the heck?
You're
hoarding them.
You didn't ask.
And now it's official. I have asked.
Okay, they're yours. So
okay,
stop trying to mess with the Chaos Star. Let me save you some work.
Problem solved.
Yeah.
All right. Well, never mind.
Yeah,
everything's great. So I've already gotten what I want out of the Warhammer Online Preview.
Perfect.
Just more stickers. I wish they were stickers. Stickers would be, I think, a little easier. I just wish almost like a Hot Wheels thing. I wish I could just peel off the sticker and just slap them on there. It wouldn't look as good, but that's okay. It'd be so much easier,
It would be a lot
at least
easier.
for me. Whatever.
I do kind of have to agree with Steve though. That it would be really nice if they gave it some extra flavor. Because I take this slightly personal, but it's okay. I on a whim, as part of a FOMO, I picked up the Horus Heresy starter box and didn't know what I was going to do with the Horus Heresy models. So I just started making random old warbands. So I took a couple of the Space Marines and I was like, I'm going to make these guys like Night Lords. So I kit bashed them to look like Night Lords and gave them some really cool custom things. And I had some blades in my bits box that I shaved down and trimmed up and put on their arms to make it look like they had the armband, like the Wolverine blades kind of coming out and stuff. So it was really cool. So personally, since I just completed them, I just finished working on them a couple days ago. I would really love to see some 40k Night Lords and some 40k other Chaos factions and stuff. That would be so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they need a little more, but of course there's so many armies. There's a lot of different choices, really, and I think they're doing a good job of making each army feel a little different, with the exception of maybe Space Marines. But you can they've carved it up enough, at least from a paint scheme and aesthetic. Now rules are a little different now with the single codex and that kind of thing, but I think they've done a good job with letting you pick different armies, and they play and look and feel completely different. So I always like to see maybe some extra factions or something that is a spin-off of something that already exists, just gives you a little extra flavor. So maybe if you don't want to go completely into one, like, I look at orcs, for example. I personally don't care for the Beast Snaga boys and the whole squig thing. That's just not my jam. So I would prefer the vehicles. So everything is mechanized essentially. But I can buy only those models and play that way if I want to, because red ones go fast, as we all know. And I can play that way, and there are specific models for me to cater to that. So I think that's really cool. Now, the orcs have a ton of models, so it's a little easier for them to get away with that just by selling more of those types of models where you can segment your armies a little bit. But it would be cool for other armies to also have that type of flexibility. But that just takes time to release more different types of units and spread the range out. But regardless, I think it will be interesting. Always exciting to see.
It's always fun.
Yeah, the preview events are always fun. And this one, I believe, is on the 17th, so coming up here in a couple of weeks. We will be watching, and I'm sure texting back and forth and reacting to hopefully no more Inspector Gadget models this time around.
Jeez.
That's what I hope. But there's always one. There's always something that is just like, oh man, they had this one in the bottom bin and they had to get it out the door. So we'll see, and we will of course have some reactions on our upcoming shows. So be looking forward to that. All right, everybody feeling thankful? Are you feeling thankful?
Indeed.
Good.
Most definitely.
Yeah, I'm already starting to get hungry because Thanksgiving here in the States is coming up, and it's supposed to be a time where we're thankful for everything in our lives. When of course in America we commercialize literally everything, and so Thanksgiving means Black Friday, buying stuff on sale and eating as much as possible. It has nothing to do with being thankful. It's all about being a consumer, apparently. So I thought it would be good though, still to because tis the season, and it'd be good to go through maybe 2 or 3 things that each of us are thankful for in the Warhammer community side, whether it be releases or specific models, rules, something like that happened this year. And I thought it'd be good, Steve. We start with you, and we go from there. So, what are you thankful for in the Warhammer world?
So, this is for us mostly, but the expansion of our play group, like we've kind of cultivated. I'm gonna say you've really been the sort of the spearhead on this one, but you kind we've introduced ourselves to new people, right? People that live close, people that are like minded, that just want to get together, eat some pizza, drink some beers, play some relaxed 40K and learn the game together and just get better. And it's been really nice because that's what I kind of envisioned for my part of the hobby, right?
Yeah.
Like I get the game store and all that stuff, but man, I mean, we're all busy, and it's really nice to not do this on someone else's schedule, if that makes sense. Like it's our schedule. Like, hey, can you get together? Hey, can you get together? All right, I'll see you around 7. That's really cool. It feels like a poker league or just folks getting ready together to play cards or something.
Let's play bridge.
I like it. Yeah, exactly. It's nerd bridge.
Yeah, it's like nerd bridge, and we've often joked about, and one of our mutual friends, Bill, who said like, man, all this work stuff's getting in the way, pesky responsibilities. Like when we moved to the old folks' home, and instead of playing shuffleboard, how about we just play Warhammer? I won't be able to see anything.
No.
And I won't be able to put together models. But at that point, maybe we can just pay someone, like, hey, I want you to come over here and tell me what these numbers say. And then at some point when when I'm in my 80s, I just pay somebody to move the models for me, and I just sit back, right, and be the
tell them what to do,
the armchair general, armchair quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, orderly.
Yeah, exactly. You say that just the building of the group, and what I would, just for our listeners, I would encourage anyone listening to this that we have a cool community around here, and it takes effort to build. You have to reach out. You got to put yourself out there a little bit. And I will still, I'm not a Facebook guy. I don't get on Facebook. I don't really care about Facebook, but my wife does. And I will never forget when she looked over at me and she says, I hesitate to tell you this, but there's somebody in our neighborhood that just posted and said, hey, just a shot in the dark, does anybody play Warhammer around here? And I'm like, what? So I had to go reset my password on Facebook because I don't log in, and I went through the whole thing, and then lo and behold, Steve is asking if anybody plays Warhammer. And then I think that night, I mean, literally within like 3 hours.
Oh yeah,
you were over at my house, and we were immediately best friends.
Totally. It was a strange thing because I didn't know, like surely somebody, and when you really look back on it, like, man, that really was a long shot. 100% long shot. Because we think everybody plays, right? Like we think like, oh, there's somebody right around the corner. Surely somebody plays.
Maybe.
Not really.
Yeah.
Not really.
No, not at all.
Like it's I almost have nobody that outside of, the few people that I do hang out with and play with that I run across and be like, oh yeah, I know what that is.
Right.
It's so rare. It's so rare. And I think that's why I'm really thankful for that, because we have a great group, and what I feel like we have is something that is very hard to find.
Yeah.
We found it kind of easy and got lucky, but I think a lot of people work very hard to find that, and then they probably like kiss a lot of frogs before they find their Prince group. You know what I mean? Like go through like, whoa, that guy cannot come to my house ever.
Well, I've been meaning to tell you.
Oh, yes. You're gonna do it now?
Well, I was talking to you, Lawson.
So, what?
In front of everybody?
No, I mean it. Yeah, we are. It does. It takes effort. It takes some. You have to put yourself out there. You got to be willing to. I mean, it's a nerdy hobby. Let's just call a spade a spade. It's extremely nerdy. And funny story, there's been times where I've accidentally sent a text message that was meant for someone in our group about Warhammer to somebody at work. And I'm like, hey, about that Warhammer stuff, just don't worry about that. And they're like, yeah, what the heck are you talking about? Like, well, imagine something that's really, really dorky, and then take that and add nerd to it. and that's Warhammer.
What heretics are you?
Oh yeah, exactly. Well, I agree, man. This is a good one. What else are you thankful for this year?
All right, this is not shilling, but 10th edition. One, I got to get in on a launch box. Yeah, that's cool. I missed 9th edition. I have to be totally honest. 9th edition was wearing me out. Like I was still trying to learn the game while 9th edition was in its death throes, and I never felt like I could learn it. And I just kind of, I think you and I both, we just really took a break from it. Thankfully they launched the boarding action stuff.
Yeah.
We had a little kill team stuff to kind of, get us distracted. Man, I started looking at non-GW games. I was looking at like BattleTech and things like that. I just was so frustrated with 9th edition. That when 10th edition came out and they started talking about what it was going to entail, I was like, okay, now I'm refocused back on 40K. To a degree, like, man, I wish I wouldn't have bought all that other stuff. But it's still fun. I don't care. But yeah, I think that really put me back in a mode where I want to play 40K, more interested in learning it, and it's been easier to learn.
Yeah.
Now, some of that we played 9th, and that did spill over. And I think it was the video we referenced in the last one about all the hate stuff. But I think one of the guys from that channel who's played, this is a professional Warhammer player basically, but everyone admittedly says 9th was really geared to tournament play.
Yeah.
And that's hard for us people that don't want to do that necessarily. 10th feels like
it's just because we could dominate, I mean,
that's what
I don't want to make everybody else feel bad.
That's true.
Yeah.
I
don't want to go
so we're
just cleaning up every
turn.
tournament.
We're choosing to not participate in the tournament because we just don't. I worry about people and their mental health.
Yeah.
Mental health's a thing now.
Yeah, we don't want to give them free
really
wins,
really big deal. Yeah, I just don't want them to feel bad. So it's all about them, and that's why we're not in the tournament. And has totally nothing to do with my lack of remembering basic rules and functions of the game.
So here's the strategy. So we all go to a tournament, right? But we have to stage it to where I'm in the middle playing against my opponent and you guys are on the tables next to me playing your opponent. So when you forget the rules, you can just lean over and ask me real quick what that rule
is. Yeah, but that has to you have to remember.
I do most of that anyways.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Well, most of the time, there's some shenanigans involved with you trying to pull like 8th edition rules on me.
Okay, I
see you doing it.
Come on.
Yeah.
That was,
anyway,
that was
I'm sorry.
We're
being thankful.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Not think less.
Yeah, that's right. No, I agree, Steve. I like 10th edition. And a lot of cool stuff came out of 10th edition. So, yeah.
And just one more. Tank shock, baby.
Oh, snap.
It's the only rule I'm good at. And no, it seems to work. No, I think it's cool, man. It's
so easy.
It's so easy. I like my Dreadnought. I get to roll 14 dice because most of the time it's toughness or strength is 12, right?
Yeah.
So I get to roll 1d6 for every point of strength. But if it's more than the victim, I'm gonna call it victim because that's really what it is. I get to roll 2 extra, so it is gonna almost always be 14 on that Dreadnought.
Yep.
And then I only have to roll 6 5s, and that's 6 mortal wounds.
Oh man!
And that never felt so good.
Well, it's such a cool rule. It's such a cool rule.
It's a great rule. 6 mortal wounds. I mean, that's all. I don't want to say almost auto, but it's a pretty darn high percentage that I'm going to hit 6 5+ out of 14 dice. And that is so sweet.
Yeah, and it's a cool narrative too. Like, I mean, especially if you have a really big vehicle, or even if you're playing against knights or something, and they do a tank shock, a gigantic knight just rolling up into your little piddly troops, your 1 wound troops, and just mowing them down, basically just punting them like a field goal. I just think it just the narrative of it is so cool, and even when you're the recipient of it, it still feels pretty cool.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But that'll pretty much round it out for me because that one's great.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, cool. Also very thankful for all the stuff that you mentioned, and of course for our group. Lawson, the newbie. You're still a newbie, right?
Oh
After
man.
I know. At what point I had a buddy in college that bought a new car, and whenever we asked him to drive, somewhere like, hey, let's go. We were gonna go out of town to go do something fun or something. They'd be like, I don't want to drive my car. It's new. Well, yeah, but then he would like a year later, he was saying the same thing. Like, at what point does your new thing is no longer new? And so, yeah, I would say you're new. Maybe this is the last time I'll call you a newbie. I
It
can't make any
definitely
promises.
it will not be the last time. I will continue to be the new person until you replace me or add someone else to be the quote new person.
No, you'll still be the new person.
Still got that new librarian smell.
Oh man, the musty tome.
I smell like books.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, I like the smell of books. I don't know what you're talking about. You ever walked into a library and just gone, this is best smell ever?
Oh wait a minute. That I don't really go into library. I think the last time I was in a library was in college.
Okay, all right.
Because it was on the way to the cafeteria. Like you had to walk.
So you had to walk. Okay, so the last time you were in a library was because you were required to, not because you wanted to be.
Because it was on the way to food.
Yikes!
Yeah.
You,
David, don't read.
No, I'm the smart one of the group.
he's above reading. He has
that's right.
ascended.
Lawson, what are you thankful for?
Okay. Because Steve got to go first, he totally stole mine. And that's okay. We're gonna truck on through anyways. My friend group. So to sort of piggyback off of kind of what Steve had used, I am incredibly thankful for just the amazing friends that I have that play this game. It's truly you guys are awesome. David, I got you into the hobby without meaning to, and that was a total accident. You're just like, hey, what do you do in your free time? Well, I play this game called Warhammer, but you probably don't know what it is. It's super nerdy, and only like 3 people in the world know what it's called. And you're like, oh, that's cool. Tell me about it. And then it just
tell me more.
Yeah, and now we're here.
Well, that's how you get people into it, though. I mean, our friend Lee. That's how I asked him. We went to a soccer game, and he asked me, "What do you do for fun?" And I said, "Yeah, I paint these little plastic, models or whatever." That's kind of how I said it. And he was like, "Oh, you mean like Warhammer?" What? But you got to put yourself out there. You got to just tell people, yeah, I do this thing, and just own it. Yeah, I'm a dork. Shut up. It's awesome.
Well, yeah, it's easier now. That was
true.
I talked to you about that almost 5 years ago, and I was nowhere near the level of social butterfly that I am currently, and that's still not a whole lot, but progress.
You still smelled like a librarian. Though.
It's okay. All right. So someone
you just weren't chief librarian.
Someone one day will appreciate my bookiness, my smelling of books.
Bookiness.
Yeah.
But yeah, my friends, you guys are awesome. And it's truly amazing to kind of like Steve said, to just hang out with people who think the same way, just kind of talk the same way. We're all goofy nerds, and we're just here to have a good time and play fun games and make jokes. And that's truly incredible. It's one of the best things.
100%.
So
wow, yeah, man, it's becoming rare. Yeah. I hate to say that. I said it before, but I really do feel it. It just everybody is in their phone now, and they just. I don't know. I meet people all the time, and I'm like, I don't know about your social skills necessarily. But I mean, and it's just it would be awkward to hang out with them because I don't know. They live in a digital world to some degree. So
isn't that funny?
I don't know.
Isn't that funny though? Because we're talking about social skills and highlighting the benefits of Warhammer, which is associated with like neck beards and mouth breather nerds.
Totally.
Which I mean, I think I didn't shave this morning, so I kind of have a neck beard, and I'm a little congested, so I'm also a mouth breather. But I mean, it's like you build the community. You start to hang out with people that are like-minded, and in many ways, the social skills that several of people that I know that would maybe look down on a tabletop game, or look at all the models in a cabinet and be like, what is this nonsense? And yeah, it is nonsense, but it's also a way for us to get together and hang out and meet new people. So it's awesome.
Yeah. Aside from my friends, I have really appreciated this edition. Not 10th edition as a whole has been really awesome. Again, all the same things Steve said, but I really have enjoyed the casual slow shift to digital things. Big fan of the books. I love the physical codexes. I love looking at the artwork and just holding the book. There's something satisfying about it, Librarian and everything. But having everything digital is so cool. Being able to just go quick search, hey, what's this one keyword that I can't remember off the top of my head, or I got it mixed up with something else, or hey, what's the specific rule for cover in this instance? You can quickly search it in the core rules. Takes 30 seconds. You know exactly what you're doing. Easy peasy. It's awesome. And then the narrative, it kind of feels like they've pushed a little bit more to a narrative thing in a few different areas. They've made a few things feel a little bit more impactful, sort of more like it's less like my dudes shot your dudes, I took this objective, cool. Now it's more like you feel like you're
more
battling
thematic.
for it's just really cool. And then the simplifying simplified, not simple, or simple,
but not simple, or simple. Whatever.
It's easier. The psychic phase being rolled up into shooting, I think is really good. And I was pretty nervous about that when they initially revealed it. I think it was the right call to make. It was a good decision. I enjoy it. It was a good shift, good change. A lot of the other things are headed in the right direction as far as the game is concerned, and it's got me excited to play. It's not complicated, and I don't have to remember 50 billion things. I remember everything in a nice, short, simple list that, like you said, you print off the list, you're good to go. And it has me coming back for more all the time.
Agreed. Cool.
And last, but certainly not the least, I have really kind of leaned into painting this year. It has been pretty cool. I've tried a whole bunch of new stuff, from different water effects to fancy glowing effects. I use some inks that are metallic, like metallic inks. So it's like a blue, just for instance, it's an ink. It's a dollar roundy blue ink that has metal flakes in it. So it's a metallic-y blue, but I use it as a shimmery thing, not like a metallic blue armor. So like, for instance, I painted the coils of a plasma blaster with it, and did like a spray with an airbrush. So it's kind of like sparkly and it looks like it's glowing at the same time. It was pretty cool. So just new things like that. Doing the diorama, I started and completed my first diorama ever. It was really super cool, a ton of fun. I tried some new water effects with models. So I've added some like puddles and rivers and stuff on a couple models, and then I painted like a little mini scene with the free World Eater model they gave you for being a Warhammer Plus subscriber, and I had him standing on like a mountain, and like he had like a puddle of skulls and blood at his feet, and I like made the water effects out of blood and stuff. It was pretty sweet. That reminds me, I need to take pictures, send you guys some pictures. But it was really cool. I'd never done stuff like that before, so I really just kind of threw caution to the wind. It's like, you know what, I'm gonna just see what happens. This sounds like a cool idea. What could go wrong? And it's been really cool to learn the new things, and that's been a ton of fun. And then to just have fun with it. I don't know, worry less about, is it going to look okay? Is it going to be the best standard ever? And just, I don't know, have fun. It's a hobby. Enjoy it. And, don't complicate it. So it's self-reflection, I guess, if you really want to just sum it up, the TLDR version. But it's been really cool. It's been a good time.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I've seen some of the like, I think you're one of the more adventurous of our group, with the kit bashes and crazy bases and buying other models to make new models. And I am more of a paint by numbers. I wish if they had numbers, I would totally follow a guide. But I look at the box and say, yep, that's what it's going to look like, and I might make a couple of deviations, but mostly I just stick to the menu, stick to the script. But it's always cool when you bring over new models and you've got and I think it's important too for people to look at this hobby as a way to do self-expression, right? You can really pour your creativity and how you want things to look, or it is completely your own. Something very unique to Warhammer and having all of the backstory and the lore for the models and the armies that you're painting, but then you can put your own spin on it and create something entirely new, whether it's a little nerve wracking at first, right? When you do your first kit bash, you're like, oh man, I don't know what this is going to look like. And then eventually you get to the point where, well, it's just glue. If I mess it up, I can just lop it off and then glue it up, and no one's ever going to know
It's true.
that I messed it up. So that's cool that you've stretched your legs a little bit and gotten into new painting. So very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'll round us out here. I am thankful for many things, but definitely the friendships. I'm not going to reiterate because I think we've said that multiple times, but it's worth repeating. I think and anybody listening to this, I'm sure can attest to the fact that they've made friends, talked to people. I mean, we've talked to people through this podcast that I never would have talked to ever. And
True story.
random strangers would just send me messages and say, hey, I really appreciate the show, I like this, I like that. And it's just amazing to think, wow, really? I mean, you're finding value in us just kind of chit-chatting. That's weird. I mean, but that's the power of this community, I think, and one of the coolest things. So obviously thankful for the friendships and the community, and then the ability to do this podcast is just an outlet for us. So I would also say anybody listening to this, just venture out and start up your own podcast. Right? It's not as difficult as you might think. It's a little nerve wracking at first, but it's so fun just to get on and record yourself and talking about things that you probably already talk about with other people. So if you've thought about, considered starting your own podcast, maybe wanting to get into it, they just do it. Just make it happen, and you might enjoy it, you might not, but really, there's not much downside. So,
People are always shocked when I tell them our method.
yeah,
I'm like, we literally found a website
yeah,
that does the recording.
yep,
That we each do it from our own house. We have like $50 microphones, and that's it.
yep, yeah. It's just,
and they're like, that's it. You don't have to have no. That's it.
yeah.
It's not as insane as you think.
Yeah. Well, very thankful for just the community and of course our friends that we forged along the way. From a game perspective, I would say that yes, I'm thankful for 10th edition, but really what I loved about 10th edition the most, I think, is Combat Patrol. And I know that maybe some look at Combat Patrol with the limited rule set, the limited stat sheet as well. You're not playing the real 40K game, but I've gotten more games in as a result of Combat Patrol, not necessarily because I'm playing back-to-back games. I'm like, oh, well, let's knock out 3 Combat Patrol games because it always takes us longer. I don't know. We're slower, but it's just no, like, I know that I don't have to block out 4 to 6 hours because you're going to stop, you're going to eat pizza, you got to go take care of something, you got to step away, whatever. And it takes a long time to play a 2,000 point game. But if you're just going to say, hey, let's get together and play Combat Patrol, you're talking 1 to 2 hours, depending on how quickly you play. But I have never felt at the end of a game of Combat Patrol where I was like, oh man, I wish I would have played a larger 40K game. No, I never really felt that way. The 2K game is definitely more complex and different, but Combat Patrol for me was one of the best things that came with 10th edition. I liked the at least the attempt to balance the the different stats per army. I'm sure that was an extremely difficult proposition, at the outset.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that you can just print out the sheets, that they've kept those free. I don't think those are going anywhere. Those aren't going into a codex or anything. And you can always play that, print those out, take them with you. So you put your army, your combat patrol in a box, you print out to 2 or 3 sheets or something, or have it on the Warhammer app, which I think you can't do the combat patrol on the Warhammer app, but having the PDFs is really nice. So you just have those on a tablet, which I recommend. And it just makes it easy.
It is on the app.
Is it on the app for real?
Oh yeah, for real.
Okay, well there you go.
Yeah.
So I've just been doing the PDFs because they're just
Yeah.
easy to save and stick on a tablet. So that's probably one of the best ways to use the digital side of the hobby, for the games. And I also tip my hat to the combat patrol side too, for making it easy for players to start up a new army. And it's an approachable way to do it. Our friend Bill, who's a Chaos Knights player, there's not a combat patrol for Knights. I mean, if it was, it'd be like just like his right foot. It'd be very difficult. And so, Bill's like, hey, I want to get into the combat patrol thing, and he went out and bought a box of World Eaters, and now he's got some World Eaters that he can play. It's just a really cool thing, and I'm so glad that it exists. And probably one of my favorite pieces of 10th edition, which is something else I'm very thankful for. Just I love the fact, not just the game, but the being a part of a new edition launch was a really cool feeling. Getting our launch boxes, day of, walking in, skipping out like a kid, and it was a really cool feeling. And just we've talked about this on the podcast before, but having our launch box in hand. And I don't think I opened it for like 3 days though. So that didn't matter. That didn't matter. It was cool just to have it. And then I remember going home or leading up to the day where we were going to pick it up, and there were the videos. They had the live events on the Warhammer site.
Oh yeah.
Where people were talking about it and doing painting stuff, and then we had a big like launch party where everybody came over, and it was a really cool experience in general. So it reminded me of when a new video game console comes out, and everybody's all excited.
Yeah.
Very similar. So if you're interested, maybe in the future, I highly recommend getting together with some friends and going to pick up a new launch box. It's nothing like it. It's really fun. And then finally, my last one that I'm thankful for, and I don't know, I haven't been a big fan of army themed dice before. I always just thought that was a complete waste of money. I mean, it kind of is, but there is something really cool. I bought when the Votan came out. I was so excited about dwarves and playing 40K, and the new dice looked really awesome. The Votan symbol on it, and they were Vegas style dice. They had a really good heft to them, and I got those. I loved them so much, and ever since then, when they come out with the new army and the new specific dice, I can't help it. Like, man, if I have that army, I definitely want the dice. And I know it sounds kind of stupid, but having themed dice where, okay, today I'm going to play Tyranids. Got to go get my Tyranid dice. And I went even as far as to go on Etsy and find somebody that made dice bags with the Tyranid symbol on them, and Votan and Chaos Space Marines and all, and Orcs and everything else that I play. But it's really cool to have themed dice. And then when you don't have the themed dice, if you have any themed dice at all, and then you go to play another army and you don't have one for that, you're like, oh man, it's so stupid. I have plenty of dice. I have more dice than I know what to do with, but they're not colored the same as my army. And so
it's all part of the collecting thing.
It is. It really is.
You know what this
I gotta have the
reminds
dice
me of?
bag, and
there are people out there that just collect nothing but the D&D type dice.
Yeah.
They just collect dice.
There's a market. There's a market for that.
It
for
is.
Sure.
So that's cool.
This reminds me of that one time when I bought the 1,000 Suns dice, And this was before you started collecting dice, and you were like, "Why would you buy the dice? They're just dice. Just buy regular dice."
It's just because they were Thousand Suns. That's why.
The turns have tabled.
The turn.
Do they have little clowns on them? And
they should. And they give off little sparkles when you roll them.
Actually, my
pull a rabbit out of
my Thousand Sun dice are cursed by the warp to only roll 6s. If you recall, the last time I used them, all I did was roll 5s and 6s. It felt real nice.
Okay, we're talking about being thankful, right?
I am. I'm thankful that I rolled 5s and 6s and just obliterated your forces.
You're being selfish, and I don't appreciate it. And remember that thing we talked about friends and stuff. This is I feel targeted personally, and I don't appreciate it. No, definitely go out and pick up some themed dice for your army, and it's a good time. You may feel like you wasted your money just for a minute, but then when you roll those dice, when you got your new army, you're like, all right, that's cool, that's worth it.
Yeah.
Well, plenty of things to be thankful for. I am looking forward to another year of Warhammer, and of course the upcoming Warhammer Online Preview. Really excited about that. And we'll have more. We're going to try to do more themed events, themed topics for these shows, and we're going to have something a little special coming up for the end of the year. So be on the lookout for that. That will wrap our show for this episode of Bolters and Booze. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Medicae Steve and Chief Librarian Lawson. I hope you enjoyed your various cocktails and lazy drinks or fancy ones, either way. I am David the Warboss, and we will see you next time on Dad Hammer. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.